Hi guys, welcome back, and this is the follow-on from volume 19 part 1. Now we're on volume 19 part 2. Okay, so where we left off was I was talking about myself and my ex African partner was now physically fighting, and then my families, so my mom, my best friend, brothers and all that, had to get involved now because things was getting real bad between myself and my ex-partner. In 2023, as I was living in his country with him, my mom had to be sweeting him up, trying to, kind of calm him down so he doesn't harm me whilst I'm in his country, and nothing would come of it, because you know how those third world countries or underdeveloped countries, if something should happen to you, you would be lost in the wind. It's not like in a first world country where they are actually doing homicide investigation and all of that. No, this would be me against words and against, he could disregard that I was even there and nothing would come of it. So what my mom found herself doing was trying to calm him down by speaking to him, pretending as if she was on his side, that he wouldn't hurt me, because she realized how much of a liar he was, as I explained and exclaimed to you guys. Because over time, as I said, my best friend was telling my mom everything that was going on, and my mom realized that this man was indeed very manipulative and disgustingly lie. So even what my best friend was telling my mom, my ex-partner at the time was counteracting everything. Everything I said, he was counteracting everything. He disregarded everything and made it seem as if myself and my best friend was lying on him. It was just continuously trying to paint this picture that he was a good man. And again, you have to give people grace, because sometimes we have our bad side. However, I'm not saying he was entirely bad. He had his good moments. However, I realized that his good moments was only for the show. I may be judging him wrongfully, and forgive me, Lord, if I'm judging him wrongfully. But based on what I've seen, what I've experienced, this is what I interpret it to be, that he was doing all these good deeds for other people just for the good name and for the sake of him being a politician, and because he needed the votes and all of that. He have to do those things, right? So therefore, people who is helped in the past, they would not believe all these things I'm saying about him, because he will never portray this kind of behavior to them. No, he will never. You understand? So this is what I am saying, where I'm coming from, in terms of, I'm not saying that he's entirely bad, but he was never good to me. Yes. At this point, everyone started to advise me. They said, Shay, keep a low profile. You need to just keep cool and keep relaxed and keep calm, because you need to come back home, back to the UK. So I decided to just humble myself, even though it was very hard. Because just imagine that you're still in the household with somebody that you're still sleeping with, and you're finding out things about them still that you did not even imagine that you would find out. Different women, I'm telling you, different women from all walks of life in that country, just presenting themselves on his phone. And again, people, I know I was digging myself deeper in this ground by searching this man's phone continuously and consecutively. It's because I just really wanted to prove myself, because this man cannot be so lie. I was trying to see if, no, probably I'm delusional or something, to the point where I have to start sending all of the things to myself. I even had them on my email. I deleted all those things now, because obviously we've moved on. But I had to really delve into, I wonder if I'm going. I was thinking, like, am I tripping or what? I had to really question myself, like, is this for real? However, at this point, I decided that I needed to shut off my feelings. And the reason why I felt as though that I needed to shut off my feelings, because things was just not getting better. And I was hurting myself, because he disregarded my feelings completely at this point, because he did not care. The only time he cared was when he needed flesh, as I said. He would just come sweep me up. But at the time, because I needed a sense of comfort, I gave in. Because I'm in a whole different country. I don't have any family. I don't have anyone around me. He was the only sense of family, if you would say. You know what I mean? I decided, let me just let go and let God. But at the time, because I wasn't fully walking with God, I knew that God was sustaining me, but I did not acknowledge him. I was working off of my own strength, trying to say, oh yeah, I'll get through this, da, 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 da. But of course, I was getting through it, not realizing it was the help of God that was causing me to go through it. So thanks be to you, Jesus. Okay, so because now I let go, right? We started to live a little better, where I was still suffering in silence. He did not know this, but he thought that, okay, maybe she let go now. She's not bringing up anything. She's not looking sad all the time. And we started to live a little better. But I was just taking on the advice from my mom and others to keep a low profile until when I returned back to the UK. Because again, I was fighting a losing battle. I was never going to win with living with that man in that country. I would never win. It was me against all of him and his people. Again, he turned his people against me because he started talking things about me behind my back to them. So at the same time as me really wanting to go back to the UK, a little part of me on the inside was just really saddened, because I was thinking, I moved all my things here. I was really hoping that we would start a new life, and all these things was just going through my head. I was really sad, but I was trying to put our best foot forward that make it seem as if I don't care. I'm ready to move forward. I'm ready to go back home. But I really was hurting on the inside. My ex partner at the time, who was my partner, he was really upset that I was tarnishing his name to my best friend, right? But who else was I to talk to? I had nobody else to talk to but my best friend. Yeah. But he wanted me to fix things. So what I found myself doing was to, humble myself again. And I refused to talk about him whilst he was there. So I would talk about him behind his back to my best friend when he had left and gone about his business or whatever. And then when he would come back home, I would say, okay, bestie, I'm going to go now. He's here. Like things like that. Just to not to let him feel as though I'm trying to rub things in his face, to start back any altercation between myself and him. I was just trying to keep a low profile, as I said. And then remember, I told you guys that his niece was living at the property with us. So she would find herself time and time again reporting back to her uncle everything that she hear or saw me doing. If I went on the road and she would come with me, she would have to report back to her uncle what she saw me doing. So this was my life at the time. This is not right. I was just so unhappy, as I exclaimed. So now I started becoming impatient because I really now wanted to go home. Like I truly wanted to go back home to the UK. But then at the same time, again, I was so saddened because really and truly, I really was praying that this man change. I wanted him to change and just recognize that, you know what, he's losing me and he doesn't want to lose me. I was really hoping and honing on that. But I guess it was just wishful thinking. Honestly, guys, and probably some of you women could attest to this. Sometimes you're in a relationship with someone and you're really hoping that there would be, understanding and change their ways so that the relationship can work, especially if you've invested years into that relationship and invested like your time, your emotions, all of that. How us women, how we are. We're emotionally bound. And at the end of the day, I feel things strongly because I'm a natural empath. I was really hoping that this man would change. I was really praying for that. Things had already gone so bad, and he already have shown his devilish side to the people who he was trying to hide it from. This is like my best friend, my mom, my brothers, my dad, etc. So remember I told you about his marriage that he proclaimed was a business marriage? All right. So this wife that he proclaimed was a business wife, what I realized that he was talking to her on a frequent basis now, because again, I searched his phone so I would see this thing. Also, he would be on his veranda on the phone, so his veranda or patio, on his phone to this wife of his. Remember, he has multiple different women on the side as well, including his white woman. So I'm not talking about those women. I'm now talking about his proclaimed to be a business marriage. This was his wife. So what I found is that he was talking to her on a regular basis. And also, I found a document in one of his drawers stating that he had filed for a separation from her. And at the time I'm thinking, but I recall in 2020 when I saw the pictures on his social media with him and his wife, and he told me it was a business marriage, and he said that they're in their final rounds of her getting her stay, and once she gets her stay in the UK, then that would be the end of that agreement. And so why would he file for a separation? I wasn't even clocking it at the time. I checked the date, but I wasn't clocking the date either. I was just thinking, but I don't, because there was just so much things that was going on. I wasn't putting two and two together. Like, this don't make no sense based on what you said and what this is showing. But he was still hell-bent on the business marriage, right? Again, he kept on speaking to her on the phone, and he would sit on his veranda away from where I was so that I wouldn't hear his conversation, and I would look through the window and see him, whispering and smiling and chuckling on his phone. And I'm thinking, and I know it's her he's talking to, because I was keeping a low profile and I had to suffer in silence, remember? So what I had to do, because I was feeling a bit jealous, if you will, and I would go out there and I would make my presence known. So what he would do is he would cut the phone off quickly so that this woman would not hear me in the background, or even if she heard me, he would come up with his elaborate lies, as he always would do. Remember, he's a pathological compulsive liar. Upon me going out on the patio, I was truly hoping that he would come out and just be honest with me and tell me who he was talking to per se. I guess that was just wishful thinking. I wanted so bad for this man to change. You guys don't understand. So one day he decided that he was going to show me the separation letter, not knowing that I already have seen the separation letter. You understand? Like, I already know what was going on. I already know the 441 scope, but I pretended like I didn't know because I didn't want him to think that I'm searching his things again. Again, we're keeping a low profile, right? So I just pretended like I didn't know what was going on. So as he showed me this now, I was like, and it was like, see, I'm just telling you that, we are separated. We're not together. I'm just showing you that this was a business marriage and this is the separation. But I was still not clocking the conversation we had had. And he said that they're in their final rounds and she's about to get there. Say, why would you need to separate? And the timing as well that was on it. It was 2017, 2020, 2017. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't clocking it at the time. Honestly, guys, I was not clocking it. However, it was time for me to evacuate that place, and he finally bought my ticket. After months of torture, he decided that he would buy my ticket. He finally bought my ticket, and it was time for me to come back home to the UK. This was the later parts of 2023, so closing to the time of the final quarter of 2023. So as he was bringing me to the airport, you can imagine the conversation, right? It was just dark and gruesome, and it was unempathetic, his conversations to me, because at the time I had to close off my feelings and I was pretending like I didn't care. It was nonchalant, and I started pretending as though we're friends. Oh, we're just good friends. So me acting as though me and him was friends, it was for me to manipulate the situation, to pretend like we were friends, to see if it would trigger him to say, no, we're not friends. You are my woman. He was going along with it. He said, yeah, we're friends. Then he started talking about his woman and his white woman, and when he come back to the UK and this, that. Mind you, he did not come back with me when he dropped me off at the airport. He was staying back in that country for another few months before he came back to the UK. But it just seems as if he wanted to get rid of me. But nonetheless, I was so happy that I was en route back to the UK, though I was still sad. Honestly, guys, I will not sit here and lie to you guys, tell you that I was not sad. I was sad because of just everything I was thinking about starting over, how I've given up everything, and thought that I would have gotten a new life in this new country as he had promised. But again, when man fail, God will never fail. Guys, so my lovelies, please stay tuned for the continuation of volume 19, part 3, when I will get into how things went when I came back to the UK in the later parts of 2023. Take care. Thank you.